Grand Rising. Well, let's get to the end of being at Mary's house. I pray that you've all read your Bibles, and I pray that you've all prayed to let the Most High know how much you appreciate His love and grace. That's number one. Now we can go back to the story. So, like I've always said, Sundays was the cheapest time to call, so Sunday calls was always the thing with Dad. Mary would always stand there while he and I were on the phone. And I think my father realized that when he was calling me at my grandparents' house, that they were listening and that Mary was probably listening too. But at this point, after all of the nastiness going on with Phyllis, and it just got nastier and nastier. Um, and like I said, I was changing. My dad started asking me questions like, do you like being at Mary's house? No. Now again, if it was just Mary and Phyllis wasn't there, it'd have been fine. I still wanted to go live with him, but being with just Mary was fine. But as long as Phyllis is gonna be there, please take me up out of here. You ready to go back to your grandparents' house? Yes. Yes, I do. I'd rather live with Eva. If y'all don't know, that's my grandmother's name. I'd rather live with Eva. But I didn't realize how much I was changing. I wasn't that yes ma'am, no ma'am kind of girl anymore. I'm changing. Like I'm really my whole attitude has changed. So it was funny that I don't know how many weekends that was, but it wasn't that many. That my grandmother called Mary. It's funny. I'm like, I never heard Miss Mary argue with anyone to this degree, I'll say. And I didn't realize who she was arguing with, but I knew whoever she was arguing with, it was me that she was arguing about. And I guess my grandmother said she was coming to get her. You ain't coming over here to get nobody. Carla's staying here. Carla gonna stay here, and that's that. Well, you come over here if you want to. I'm like, what in the world? Now, I'm not gonna lie, I was enjoying it. I'm not gonna lie, you know, because I realized that it was my grandmother. And I'm like, I didn't think that woman liked me at all. But ooh wee, come and get me because I don't want to stay here no more. Well, my grandmother came over and she said, you're gonna get my grandbaby. My grandbaby's coming back to my house. Her daddy said she can come back to my house and for me to come get her. Mary didn't believe her, so she called my dad. And my dad answered the phone. Now, 9 times out of 10, whenever my grandparents called or Mary called, he would pay them for the phone call because during the week, like I said, it was expensive. And it was definitely during the week. And normally, if it's, my father didn't answer the phone much. He really didn't. But no, this time he actually did. He answered the phone. And he didn't really argue with her. He said, my grandmother could take me. So I left. I was happy. I I hugged my grandmother. I was glad to see her. I really was. But again, I'm not the child that they had before though. I'm different. I'm very different. I'm very different. So yeah, I left first, and then they went. Well, my granddaddy went because Mary and her were going to have a physical fight. So my granddaddy went and got my stuff. and brought it back to his house. But it didn't take long for them to say, she can't stay here either. Because, like I said, back in those days, children were spoken when spoken to. And you definitely were yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. And being disrespectful was a no no all day. Well, I wasn't that girl anymore. Mm-mm. Yeah, no, I'm not that girl. I am mean. I'm starting to become really mean. I'm being disrespectful. Um, and again, the Sunday phone calls were still coming, and I'm letting him know. I didn't care if my grandmother heard him. Now I don't care. I'm ready to leave here. I don't want to stay here either. And he was like, "Well, I can't come and get you right now, but I will. I'll come and get you soon." Sitting with Granddaddy while he would read his Bible. I know what it was. I didn't know at the time it was a Bible, but it was his Bible. Reading his Bible and smoking his cigar. I wasn't welcome to sit with him anymore. I'm disrespectful. One day, my grandfather asked me to, he asked me to get up and wash the dishes, and we had just finished eating dinner. Grandma's favorite. Um, she'd make white rice. Um, I think it was green beans. I can't remember, but it was definitely that white rice and fried chicken. Delicious. So I done ate and I'm full. My granddaddy asked me to get up and wash the dishes, and I said, I will in a minute. I'm laughing because I tell you this all the time. I am 55 years old. So anyone around that age range, you just told your grandfather, I will in a minute. Oh, no, no, no. That is not allowed. Oh, girl, you done lost your mind. And I sat there. My grandfather got up. He pacing, he looking. I could tell he looking for something. And I said, Granddaddy, what you looking for? I'm thinking I'm going to help him look for it. He said, I'm looking for a stick so I can bust you upside your He said, I'm looking for a stick so I can bust you upside your head because don't you ever. I said, get up and wash those dishes. He couldn't find the stick. Oh, you should have seen my grandmother. She flew. Oh, I know where one is. She wanted to hurry up and get a stick for me because she didn't like me no way. So I know where stick is, Daddy. And she go run and get the stick, but she didn't get it to him fast enough. And before I knew it, he had picked me up by my collar and he looked at me and he had whipped his belt off his body so fast. He said, don't you ever in your life tell me you'll do it in a minute. I said, get up and wash those dishes. You talk about terrified? I felt my life flash before my eyes. That man was not playing with me. I went and washed the dishes. Let's just say I definitely tried my best to stop being disrespectful to him. Grandma, I didn't care too much about, but Granddaddy, oh, he was about to kill me, and I felt it. Oh, I felt it. I felt it. Oh, so yeah. Grandma didn't like me, but now Granddaddy's getting to the point where I'm not gonna say he didn't like me, but he didn't like who I turned out to be, and he was like, "It's time for you to go." My grandfather and my dad, they didn't really talk much. They didn't like each other. I didn't realize that. I mean, I realized that he never really talked to him, but I didn't understand that they didn't like each other. So he called my dad and he let him know, you gonna have to come and get her. She's got to go. Now, as an adult, I personally, and I guess that's just because I've been through what I've been through, I would have been trying to figure out what has happened to this child. She ain't even been gone that long, maybe a year, maybe a year and a half, and she come back. Who is this child? This is not the same child that left here. What is happening with her? Nobody thought that. I was just bad, you know? That was it. I was bad. And I didn't realize that my father had a reputation for being bad. So I'm like him. That's what they say. Nobody knew who my mother was. So, um, yeah. So one day we got into it. Like, we got into it. I'm crying, my grandmother crying, everybody mad, because I'm being disrespectful, but I don't care anymore. I'm frustrated. I'm tired of stuff happening to me and nobody stopping it and nobody helping me. So leave me alone is where I'm at. That's where I'm at. Just leave me alone. And I said, I wish I could go live with my mother. It was the first time I ever said that because I never really thought about her. But my dad didn't seem to want me. Staying with Mary was not an option. Being with my grandparents, I didn't want to be there either. So now I wish I knew I could go stay with my mother. I wish I knew her so I could go live with her. And the atmosphere changed in the house. And I'm like crying and frustrated and aggravated. And my grandmother said, now I'm in my room. My grandmother said, have you ever talked about your mom before? No. Not no ma'am. No. Have you ever seen a picture of her or anything? No. Why are you asking me these questions is what I'm thinking. So now my grandfather comes into the room. Okay, my temperature changed because hey, homeboy ain't the one. So granddaddy said, grandbaby, we're gonna talk to you. We're gonna tell you something. Yes, sir. He said, your mother's dead. Your father, your father killed your mother. And I'm like, what? Killed my mother? He said, he took her. They went somewhere to go look at flowers. And it sounds weird, but in my head I was picturing it. Your mother and father were going somewhere and she wanted to go look at these flowers. She wanted to pick some flowers. And she gets out the car to do that. And he shot her in the head and killed her. What? I don't know how to process this. I have no idea how to process this. You mean to tell me that man that comes and visits and take me wherever I want, does whatever I want, buys me whatever I want, shot and killed my mother? What? My grandmother said, yeah, they had him in prison and he was in a hole. Now, I don't know how the prisons were back in the day, but she described to me that he was in a hole in the ground, like he was a hole, a gate. It was in some bars above his head. And when he got out, like when they went to visit him, they would let him out this hole. I don't know how to take this. I'm for the first time, I'm afraid of my dad. Like he shot and killed my mother. So it made sense why I'd never seen her before. It made sense why nobody ever talked about her. There's no pictures of her. I had nothing. So I'm bawling. I'm crying so hard because my dad killed my mother. He shot her in the back of the head. I had no idea what my mother looked like. I had no clue. But all I kept saying was this woman looking at these yellow flowers, because they did say were yellow. I see them in a yellow big old field. I'm having nightmares about this. And he shot and killed her. I'm thinking to myself, I have no one. I don't want to go live with him. He killed my mother. Anger was rolling around in my body like never before. But so was the fear. Because he shot and killed my mother. He shot her in the head. I didn't know how to take that. I didn't know how to, I didn't understand. Like I didn't understand. But I was so angry. The anger of all the things that has happened to me. And now to know that my mother can't save me because my father shot and killed her. I felt alone, like so alone. I felt I had nobody. It wasn't that bad at grandmom and granddad's house. But I couldn't change who I was turning out to be. Like it was an automatic thing I was feeling. I'm angry. I'm angry. How could he shoot and kill my mother? Like, I couldn't, I couldn't process it. But like I always say, I don't want these videos to be that long. So I'm going to stop here. Have an amazing day. Keep smiling. Your pain has a purpose. Shalom.